In the quaint, quiet town of Villisca, Iowa, there stands a modest white house that has become infamous for a gruesome chapter in its history. Known as the Villisca Axe Murder House, it was the site of one of the most mysterious and horrific unsolved crimes in American history. The year was 1912, and the town of Villisca was a tight-knit community where everyone knew everyone. On the night of June 9th, the Moore family attended a Children's Day program at their local Presbyterian church. Josiah Moore, his wife Sarah, and their 4 children, Herman, Catherine, Boyd, and Paul, were accompanied by 2 young friends, Lena and Ina Stillinger, who were to spend the night at the Moore house. After the program, the group returned to the Moore home, laughing and talking as they made their way inside. They couldn't have known that their peaceful evening would soon give way to unspeakable horror. As the town slept, an intruder entered the Moore house. Armed with an axe, the stranger moved silently from room to room, methodically bludgeoning each of the occupants to death. By morning, all 8 people inside were dead. The bodies were discovered the next day by a concerned neighbor, Mary Peckham, who noticed the unusual stillness around the Moore house. She called Josiah's brother, Ross Moore, who found the gruesome scene. News of the murders spread quickly, sending shockwaves through the community. The crime was brutal and personal. The victims had been attacked in their sleep, some with such force that the ceilings bore marks from the upswing of the axe. The investigation that followed was extensive, but ultimately fruitless. Despite several suspects being questioned, including a traveling preacher named Reverend George Kelly and a local state senator named Frank Jones, no one was ever convicted. Theories abounded, from the possibility of a serial killer to suggestions of personal vendettas, but the true identity of the murderer remains unknown to this day. The Villisca Axe Murder House became a place of legend and whispers. Over the decades, stories of hauntings and supernatural occurrences began to circulate. Visitors reported hearing children's laughter, seeing ghostly apparitions, and feeling an overwhelming sense of dread within its walls. Paranormal investigators flocked to the house, hoping to capture evidence of the restless spirits said to reside there. Despite, or perhaps because of, its dark history, the house has been preserved almost exactly as it was in 1912. It stands as both a memorial to the victims and a chilling reminder of the unsolved mystery. Guided tours are offered, allowing visitors to step back in time and feel the eerie presence of the past. In the dead of night, when the town is quiet and the wind whispers through the trees, one might wonder about the secrets the house still holds. The Villisca Axe Murder House remains a haunting enigma that leaves a mark on all who dare to enter. In the small town of Enfield, Illinois, the year 1973 seemed poised to pass like any other. Nestled amid the vast expanses of farmland and woods, Enfield was a place where everyone knew each other, and news rarely traveled beyond the boundaries of its rural charm. That is, until one late April evening, when the extraordinary disrupted the ordinary. Henry McDaniel, a no-nonsense man with a reputation for honesty, lived in a modest home on the outskirts of town. On April 25th, as darkness was falling, Henry sat in his living room, enjoying a moment of calm. The peace was abruptly shattered by a series of strange sounds emanating from outside. A scratching, almost a shuffle, accompanied by an eerie, high-pitched wail. Curiosity piqued, and a sense of foreboding gripping him, Henry grabbed a flashlight and cautiously stepped onto his porch. The beam of his flashlight sliced through the night, illuminating patches of the yard as he scanned the area. At first, he saw nothing out of the ordinary. But then, his light caught movement near the edge of the woods. What Henry saw next would be seared into his memory forever. Standing there, partially obscured by the shadows of the trees, was a creature unlike anything he had ever seen. It stood about 4 feet tall, with an almost human-like stance, but that was where the similarities ended. The creature had 3 legs, each ending in what looked like talon-like appendages. Its skin was grayish and rough, almost reptilian, and it had short, stubby arms. But the most unsettling feature was its eyes, large, red, and glowing with an otherworldly light. For a moment, man and creature stared at each other, both seemingly frozen in shock. Then, as Henry took a cautious step forward, the creature emitted another wail, a sound that seemed to pierce the very fabric of the night. It turned and bounded away with surprising agility, disappearing into the thick woods. Shaken but resolute, Henry hurried back inside and called the local authorities. His report was met with skepticism, as was expected for such an extraordinary claim. However, Henry's steadfast insistence on what he saw prompted a visit from the police. The officers, while respectful, found no trace of the creature. But they did note strange scratches on the door and odd footprints in the yard, three-toed and deep, as if from a heavy creature. News of Henry's encounter spread quickly through Enfield, with reactions ranging from fear to ridicule. Some townsfolk believed him without question, while others thought it a hoax or the result of an overactive imagination. Yet, Henry's earnest demeanor and consistent account of that night's events lent a credibility that made many pause. Reporters from nearby towns, and eventually from national papers, descended upon Enfield, eager to hear Henry's story. He recounted his experience with unwavering detail, describing the creature's appearance, the sounds it made, and the chilling feeling of those glowing red eyes locked onto his. In the days that followed, a few other residents came forward with their own strange sightings and unexplained occurrences, adding layers to the mystery. Some speculated about a hidden species in the woods, while others whispered about extraterrestrial visitors. The local lore of Enfield was forever changed, imbued with a sense of the unknown and the uncanny. As weeks turned into months, the frenzy died down, and Enfield returned to its quiet routine. But for Henry McDaniel, life would never be quite the same. Every so often, on a still, quiet night, he would find himself on the porch, flashlight in hand, scanning the woods for any sign of the weird little creature that had once lurked in his yard. And though he never saw it again, the memory of that night remained vivid, a reminder that sometimes the extraordinary is closer than we think. In June 2014, Derek and Maria, a couple with 3 children, purchased their dream home at 657 Boulevard in the serene town of Westfield, New Jersey. The stately 6-bedroom house, built in 1905, was perfect for their growing family, blending historical charm with modern amenities. It seemed like an idyllic place to create lasting memories. However, their dream quickly turned into a nightmare. Just 3 days after closing the sale, as Derek was finishing up some painting at the house one evening, he checked the mail and found a white envelope addressed in thick, clunky handwriting to the new owner. Inside, there was a typed letter that began innocuously enough with a warm welcome. But as Derek read on, the tone shifted dramatically. The letter's author, who signed off as the Watcher, claimed to be the latest in a line of caretakers tasked with watching over 657 Boulevard. They mentioned the house had been the subject of their family's watch for decades. The Watcher asked, "Have they found what is in the walls yet? In time they will." Deeply unsettled, Derek rushed back to his family's current home, where Maria and their children were still living until they moved into 657 Boulevard. He showed Maria the letter, and they contacted the police. The responding officer took the threat seriously, advising them not to tell their neighbors, as they were all now suspects. In the following days, more letters arrived. The Watcher seemed to have intimate knowledge of the family's comings and goings, mentioning specific details about their children and activities. "I am pleased to know your names now and the name of the young blood you have brought to me," one letter read. "Will the young bloods play in the basement? Who has the bedrooms facing the street? I will know as soon as you move in." The Broaddus family hired a private investigator, installed security cameras, and reached out to former FBI agents for advice, but the letters kept coming. Each new correspondence revealed more about the Watcher's obsession with the house and its new occupants. The community of Westfield, known for its peaceful small-town charm, was shocked as the news of the Watcher spread. Neighbors began to suspect one another, and the once tight-knit community grew tense. Despite extensive investigations by the police and private detectives, the identity of the Watcher remained elusive. As months turned into years, the psychological toll on the Broaddus family grew unbearable. They never moved into their dream home, instead choosing to rent it out while they lived elsewhere. In 2017, the Broaddus family filed a lawsuit against the previous owners, claiming they had also received a letter from the Watcher before the sale, but had failed to disclose it. The case brought renewed media attention to their plight, but it did not provide the answers they desperately sought. Eventually, in 2019, the Broaddus family sold 657 Boulevard at a significant loss. They moved on with their lives, but the mystery of the Watcher and the terrifying experience they endured left a lasting scar.
Thank you for watching. If you enjoy our content, please support the channel by liking, subscribing, and sharing with your friends. Don't forget to hit the notification bell so you never miss a new horror story. Your support helps us create more spine-chilling content.